Hello, my friends. The Russians aren't stopping, and unfortunately, the activity on the front lines isn't decreasing. Let's start with the Pokrovsk direction. Over the past 24 hours, the Russians carried out 63 attacks here. So, obviously, they've concentrated a massive number of troops in this area, and they still have plenty of reserves. Ukrainian soldiers are laughing at statements claiming that there are no Russian troops in Pokrovsk. There are no Russian troops in Pokrovsk, only sabotage and reconnaissance groups. Ha 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 ha. Really, do some people not find that ridiculous themselves? Of course, there are Russian troops there, and not just 300 soldiers, but over 1,000, maybe even more. But in the world of pink ponies, there are supposedly only recon groups that, for some reason, are trying to cut the city off from Myrnograd by attacking the flanks. And obviously, that's not the job of reconnaissance groups, that's the job of assault and mechanized units, which is exactly what the Russians are trying to do. If someone on the ground is reporting otherwise, well, it seems the lies in those reports still haven't been fixed. According to official statements from the General Staff of Ukraine, the Russians are continuing their attempts to break through in Rodynske. We know that the city was actually cleared of Russians. They are no longer inside, only trying to attack from the outside. They are also advancing in the Krasny Lyman area, assaulting Myrnograd and trying to move toward the village of Svitle to create a new encirclement here. They are also attempting to break through near Lysivka, assaulting Rivne, and there are many reports of clashes inside Pokrovsk itself. The Russians are still trying to fully capture Molodetsk and are pushing toward Dachne and Kotlane. For now, there have been no changes over the past day, but the situation remains extremely difficult. As for the videos released by Russians showing supposed Ukrainian soldiers surrendering, it looks like they're trying to fake victories using artificial intelligence. In reality, the fighting continues, and Ukrainian journalists have also confirmed that, according to their data, no one has surrendered. There are also new updates from Rodynske from Ukrainian soldiers. In the Rodynske area, the fighting hasn't stopped. Our units are gradually pushing the line of contact forward, expanding the gray zone. The Russians are being systematically driven out of their fortified positions. The progress is slow but steady. The Russians are trying to hold on, but under our pressure, they are being forced to retreat in certain areas. In the Dobropillia direction, Ukrainian forces have managed to stabilize the situation, and so far there have been no new Russian gains, even though the Russians continue to assault Shahove, Pankivka, and Sofiivka. Recently, there were reports that the Russians had broken into the eastern part of Shahove and secured positions there, with even video evidence to support the claim. However, it seems that the Ukrainian forces quickly pushed them back, and for now, the front line remains unchanged. Now moving to the Novopavlivka direction. And the Russians are trying to advance toward Filia across the fields, while also assaulting Dachne and Ivanivka. But again, there are no new changes, and Ukrainian forces are successfully repelling all attacks. In the Pokrovsk direction, Dnipropetrovsk region, Russian forces are pushing toward Novoselivka, assaulting Sosnivka, advancing across the fields toward Orestopil, and attacking Yegorivka. The activity remains very high, but so far they haven't managed to advance further. Meanwhile, the situation near Huliaipole is much more difficult. Here, the Russians have broken through Ukrainian defenses and pushed forward significantly. Today, the assault in Rivnopillia and Zeleny High, Ukrainian soldiers describe the situation as follows. In the Huliaipole area, the situation and problems on this front are serious. Even though I wrote back in August that Huliaipole faced the greatest threat among all cities in the Zaporizhzhia region, I didn't expect the Russians to become so active and effective so quickly. In less than 3 months, they managed to capture 250 square kilometers of territory, which is 0.9% of the entire region. Right now, the Russians have achieved the biggest territorial advances along the whole front. The Russians have also moved close to the Pokrovsk Huliaipole highway, advancing along a 20-kilometer wide front in both the Dnipropetrovsk and Zaporizhzhia regions. It's now clear that the offensive on Huliaipole has begun, and fighting for the town is only a matter of time. The situation is almost identical to what happened near Velika Novosilka exactly a year ago. Overall, the situation remains very serious. Some Ukrainian soldiers are also saying that the growing problems on the Huliaipole front are due to false reports and poor command decisions. On the Huliaipole front, a real disaster is slowly approaching. The spokesmen are pretending everything is fine. General Golovko admits only 3 settlements were lost, in reality much more. But removing Tarnavsky? No, no. Reinforcing the area? No, no. Forcing Tarnavsky and his team to give truthful reports about the real situation and the depth of the Russian breakthrough? Again, no. Well, after Huliaipole will come Orikhiv, and after that, apart from Kamushovaha and Stepnohirsk, there won't be much left to stop the Russians from reaching the southern outskirts of Zaporizhzhia. This will also affect the town of Pokrovsk. If the Russians capture it, they'll be able to move toward Vilnyansk. That would mean operational and tactical success for the Russians and a real catastrophe for us. Keep Tarnavsky in command, don't strengthen the sector, and continue to ignore the problem as before. See where that gets us. As we can see, Ukrainian soldiers are no longer staying silent. They're sounding the alarm about the situation and the lack of adequate response from command. Meanwhile, in the Zaporizhzhia direction, Russian forces are advancing near Primorsk. According to the General Staff, the Russians launched 5 assaults in the past day, and fighting continues. Activity in this sector is quite high, but so far the Russians haven't made any new advances, and shelling continues as usual. In the Kherson direction, Russian forces continue offensive actions near the Antonivsky Bridge and keep shelling the right bank of the Dnipro River. However, no changes have been recorded over the past day, and the Ukrainian forces are successfully repelling all attacks. Now moving to the Kostiantynivka direction. The Russians are trying to assault Protechne and Pleshiyivka and are pushing past Rusin Yar, but haven't achieved any new successes. There have been no territorial changes during the past 24 hours. In fact, Russian sources indirectly confirm that Ukrainian forces pushed them out of the outskirts of Kostiantynivka. Despite that, the Russians are once again attempting to use fog as a cover to move closer to the city. In the Siversk direction, Russian forces are assaulting the village of Dronivka, and trying to break through from Serebryanka toward Siversk. However, Ukrainian defenders are holding the line, and the front has been stabilized in this area. In the Lyman direction, the Russians are attempting to advance toward the city through the forested area where intense fighting continues. So far, the Ukrainian forces haven't allowed them to gain a foothold. The Russians are also assaulting Korovy Yar, but no confirmed changes have been reported over the past 24 hours. In the Borova direction, no new assaults have been recorded, and the situation remains stable for now. In the Kupiansk direction, Russian forces are trying to push into Kupiansk, assaulting Petropavlivka and Glushkivka, and advancing beyond Peshchane. Interestingly, the Russians have declared the full capture of the eastern part of the city. Of course, the situation inside Kupiansk remains difficult, and the Russians continue to apply heavy pressure. However, the fact that they make such statements shows they still haven't captured the entire city, since they usually announce victories only after full occupation. This time they took just a part and are claiming control as if the whole city has fallen. So, in short, the Russians rushed the announcements. Even Putin claimed Kupiansk was encircled, but now they seem unsure what to say next, inventing new claims about taking the city piece by piece. The fighting continues, though the situation remains challenging. In the Velika Burluk direction, Russian forces are attempting to advance toward Kolodezne, but they have no success, and the situation hasn't changed for the past day. In the Vovchansk direction, the Russians continue trying to push into the southern part of the city, suffering heavy losses without any progress. They're also attempting assaults toward Vovchansky Hutory, but the front line remains unchanged for now. And today, reports say that a deadly infection from World War I has reappeared on the front lines. An outbreak of gas gangrene, a fatal infection dating back to World War I, has been recorded, reports the Telegraph. Due to drone strikes, the evacuation of the wounded is often delayed, and medics are now detecting cases of gas gangrene, a horrifying infection that eats away at muscle tissue and can kill almost instantly. Without rapid medical assistance, the mortality rate reaches 100%. Meanwhile, analysts are warning that after taking control of the Donetsk region, Russia may move toward the Kharkiv region next. Russia is 1 year behind its schedule to capture Pokrovsk. The decisive winter lies ahead, but if Donbass falls, Kharkiv will become the Kremlin's next target, writes Foreign Affairs. Russia planned to seize Pokrovsk, a key logistics hub, by November 2024. But its forces are now a year behind schedule. Despite having a numerical advantage, Russian troops have failed to break through Ukraine's defenses quickly. Ukrainian forces are eliminating over 20,000 Russians each month. Moscow is preparing to consolidate control over the ruins of the city, throwing more and more manpower into the devastated quarters of Pokrovsk. Russian drones are actively blocking Ukrainian supply lines. The decisive winter is coming. Also, after Lavrov's latest statement that Russia will not stop the war until it achieves its goals, foreign analysts have outlined a possible three-stage plan for Russia to take control of Ukraine. Russia plans to seize Ukraine in three phases. Putin aims to hold the annexed regions and capture Kharkov, Mykolaiv, and Odessa, cutting Ukraine off from the Black Sea, reports Foreign Affairs. The second phase would involve economic and political pressure, with threats of a new invasion. In the third phase, Ukraine would fall under Russia's influence, similar to Belarus. The outlet also notes that this winter could be decisive. Russia is producing a record number of missiles, and Ukraine's energy system is struggling with power outages and heating disruptions. If Russia accelerates its offensive, it could seek to force Ukraine into submission by 2026. Um, However, that outcome now seems highly unlikely. Moscow might tighten its grip on occupied territories, but the rest of Ukraine is no longer a place that will submit to Russian control anytime soon. Friends, share your thoughts about this in the comments below. Uh, Meanwhile, Donald Trump announced that many countries celebrate Victory Day, and he wants the US to have its own version of it. Trump plans to hold military parades on Victory Day, following the example of Russia and the UK. The US president made this announcement during a speech at the Arlington National Cemetery on Veterans Day. I see other countries celebrating Victory Day. I watched the United Kingdom, I watched Russia, they celebrated Victory Day for World War II. And I said we should have a Victory Day too. From now on, we'll celebrate Victory Day for World War One, World War Two, and frankly for all others wars. So in short, Trump just wants more celebrations. In addition, he said that the US will lower tariffs for India, claiming that the country has stopped buying Russian oil.
Lowering the current tariff rate?
Well, right now, the tariffs are very high on India because of the Russian oil, and they've stopped doing the Russian oil. It's been reduced very substantially. Yeah, we're going to be bringing the tariffs down.
We'll see how these events unfold next. And that's all from me. So please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.